This is where we begin. To us, Culpeper was and is Main and Davis Street. Culpeper's history has been well recorded. Its story has been told through memories passed from generation to generation.
And it was one of these events that comes along once in a lifetime.
We have so much history to be shared, and it's good to be here with these gentlemen doing it.
Some of this is history that nobody else knows.
Yeah, that's right. So here we are, all firsthand, first person, and ready to tell our stories. Fellas, you introduce yourselves.
Yes, my name is Boyd Carpenter. My family has been in America since 1626. We came to Culpeper after we left Germanna, if you trace it back. And we've been local. My granddad had a farm in a hardware store in this area. My dad worked in the hardware store. I've got a business. We do race cars and performance parts, and I've lost my mind over that. And just been in the community since I was born, which was in 45, and just looking forward to spending here a lot more time.
I'm Donnie Johnston. I lived here all my life. Worked in radio, television, newspapers, hung out a lot down Main Street and learned a lot of things that probably I shouldn't have learned. But I've been here all my life, and I know these people pretty well.
I'm Glenn Carpenter. Boyd and I are first cousins, and I'm a lifelong resident of the town. Actually, I guess the only time I've lived in the county was before it was annexed in 1968 for a short time. But anyway, I enjoy Culpeper history, and in particular the part that we all played a part in. My background has mostly been aviation, but I'm retired, and I enjoy getting together with friends and talking about old Culpeper.
I'm David Barton, and my family goes back to 1714 to the original settlement of Germanna. John Joshua Martin. The Martin family has been here since that time. I went to Culpeper High School, graduated in 68, went to Hampton-Sydney College, was in insurance, was on town council. My grandfather was former mayor, and I know a lot about Culpeper history, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with everyone out here.
My name is Charles Jamison, a lifelong citizen of Culpeper. Going back, my family goes back to the Revolutionary War and the Culpeper Amendment and further. I graduated from George Washington Carver Regional High School. I went on into graduate from Virginia Commonwealth University, and then was drafted and went to Vietnam, where I earned my dues there. But thanks that I'm back here and trying to do what I can for the community. We have so much history to be shared, and it's good to be here with these gentlemen doing it.
Well, I think the first memory that I have of town would be something that's been a lifelong love, and that is automobiles and hearing cars and trucks build up and down Main Street, because Culpeper didn't have a bypass then. And Main Street, to me, started pretty much at, it was an Esso station then. Wussy Gilmore later had it. There were a number of people that ran the Esso station, but pretty much that was the beginning of town. I remember a lot of trees lining Main Street, and pretty much the end of town was the bridge in front of what is now Caton. Is it still Caton's Laundromat? Davis Street was Main and Davis was the heart. There were no shopping centers. In fact, at each end, I think we would probably agree that there were just cows and vines. So that's what I remember.
I started coming to Culpeper. We lived out in the country when I was small, way out in the country, up in the edge of Rappahannock, and we would come to town every Saturday. That was a big thing. You came to town on Saturday. And I'm sure you guys will remember, on Saturday morning, Everybody wanted, the country people would come in, they'd be dressed up with their ties on, and the ladies with their hats, and they had those white gloves. Remember, everybody wore those white gloves. All these women wore their white gloves, these older ladies. And some people would get there at 5:30 in the morning to jockey for a good parking space there in front of Newberry's. Oh, that was the place. Newberry's was the big store back then. And then later on in the 60s, it transitioned from everybody wanting to be there on Saturday morning to everybody wanting to be there on Friday night. Friday night was the big thing. I was working at Schul's Furniture then. Oh man, that was the big thing. Everybody was uptown. All the country people would come in. And right there at Main and Davis at Newberry's and Gayhart's. Oh, that was the big place to be.
And the store stayed open until 10 and 11 o'clock on Friday.
They stayed on until at least 9. And that was radical, man. 9 o'clock. Only the country store stayed open that late. And that's because the old guys who sit around tell lies.
They never do that, man.
Never do those now.
Well, I went to grades 1 through 7 in Ann Wingfield School there on East Street, and when I would stay with my grandparents that lived farther up on East Street, walk down and go to Glenn's Fair Price store, going and coming. And that was a memory that we had. And we would also go to the pharmacy down, you remember the pharmacy?
Yep.
Down on Main Street. Jimmy's drugstore. Yep, that was a meeting place for all the kids after school, and it was. And the other thing that was special to me was going to the Pitts Theater, which my grandfather managed all the Pitts theaters in the state of Virginia, the theaters and drive-ins, and I was very popular in school because I could take anybody to the movies, and we would all get in free. So that was the extent of my popularity when I was in school.
Well, you remember the High's ice cream store? Started next to it, right? Wasn't right next to it.
Well, Boyd and I were talking. We went to our first movie. I think it was you we were talking. Our first movie at the old Fairfax Theater, there at the low end of town.
They had the better movies.
Yeah.
They had, and before the movie started, you had a serial at the beginning, and the one that they had at the Pitts Theater was kind of lame. It was like Simba and India and elephants and not much violence going on. And being a kid, I liked the other, and you went down to the other movie theater. Boy, it was cowboys, Indians.
That's right.
World War I, stuff, really the neat stuff down there.
Well, the first one I went to was a religious movie. My grandmother, I think it's the only movie she ever went to in her life. And I was about maybe 5 years old at the time. And of course, I threw a fit. They had to take me out. So I didn't get the whole movie in, but it was old Fairfax Theater.
And y'all remember that was also owned by the Pitts family.
Yeah.
So,
Well, then they had the Pitts Drive-In too.
absolutely.
I got a lot of good memories from Pitts Drive-In.
Boy, we missed a lot of movies
We did.
when we were teenagers.
Did you watch a movie or did you?
Well, there's something going on.
Well, I tell you, I never saw a movie at the Fairfax Theater, but my best memory is being there with my mother, and they were collecting names for donations for the Culpeper Hospital. I was about 9 years old. She would tell me, go over there and get that name, go do this. And that was, my older brother had gone to the Fairfax Theater, but I had never seen a movie there, but that was my memory of being in the Fairfax Theater.
It's where the Indian restaurant is. Is that what's that? I don't know what's that.
No, I
Fairfax.
think it's some, it's down the lower end of town. It's all kind of 2 or 3 different doors. Yeah, it was a different kind
Restaurants in there.
Yeah, I was thinking Indian restaurant.
And what's the name of the?
And remember when the ABC store?
Oh, there's a Liberty. Oh, yeah, there's a reference.
It's a premise. But the theater was right there where here's not Todd Brown, but the other investment place.
Well, I think the holders and the playbills are still there.
And the computer place is in there now.
Is he across the street from Charlie Singer's beer joint? Yes, Charlie Singer had a beer joint over there.
Not that we knew anything about it, but
Not that
our mothers told it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they had a good hammer. I did eat hammers in there sometime. It was a good hamburger.
Well, I was down the corner in the pool room, shooting pool down the street.
And Bordy Marshall had his funeral business down at that end of town.
Yeah.
That was on. Yeah, it's,
What was the doctor then?
Barber.
I thought we are.
Barber, Elijah Barber. Yeah. Remember the barber shop down there?
Oh yeah.
Next to
Started out with Skinny Loves and
Skinny Love's barber shop. Skinny Love, he was a good pitcher.
Yeah,
They said he was one of the best pitchers.
you know, his son had a tribe with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah.
And they said George Love was his name. He was a left-handed pitcher, but they said he babied out, that he couldn't stay there.
And there was old guy there that I can't remember who shined shoes all the time, but Banks would always, I never knew his first name. He was always just Banks. And he would cut my hair down there.
So I had a question. You were talking about Mortimer Marshall's funeral home. Is that where guests started after he passed away?
No,
They didn't start there?
no.
Okay.
Yes, started up at the John Ruff, where the Valley Music is
Okay.
out there. His father-in-law had a tombstone business up there, Thomas.
Right.
And so he started up there.
These businesses that we're speaking of are all on, well, except for the one you just mentioned, are all in the 200 block of Davis Street. So that would
East Davis.
East Davis.
East Davis.
Yes. And
Go into town.
the down on for the newer viewers, the newer people to Culpeper, that would be in the area where the train depot is at the very end. So those buildings, I think there are several restaurants, and I'm not sure what the differences are. I think Merle Norman is on the cosmetic place is on one side. So these businesses are all in those buildings, which most of those buildings are still standing. I mean, I think they may have torn down some on the very, very end.
Yeah.
And before Charlie Singers had his radio there, so Lightfoot had a grocery store in there back in the 30s. He had a,
We don't know
really
the stuff is yeah.
So I knew a lot of stuff nobody else cares about, but
Well, also down on that end was the Trailway bus terminal.
Yeah.
Right in the corner across from Jimmy's restaurant, which was pretty much the restaurant for that end to service the people on the train, I guess.
if it,
And that was it. The Trailways had a lunch counter.
A lot of horsemen went upstairs.
Well, the Waverly Hotel was across the tracks, so people would get off and stay there and come over to Jimmy's.
Charles, you remember the bus station was segregated.
Oh yeah.
They had a white visiting sitting area and a black sitting area.
I can remember going there with my dad, and we would sit on the side where the kitchen was. Alfred Parker was the chef. He started a business himself after that up on the hill, but he was the cooking, and I can remember going in and I said, "Oh, where's cook?"
I could have heard East of that. They had a good hamburger down there.
And I can remember going to Jimmy the Greek's. There's a lot of horses, and I can remember going with Mr. Hawkins, and he'd go upstairs.
I didn't went to Jimmy's Greek's much.
Yes.
I went
A lot of horsemen together.
when I in our family, like it used to be back then. If you were a kid, you went to work with your dad somewhere along the line, especially if it was on a farm. And when we first, when I was first born, we were in town. Then we had a family accident. We had to move out into the country on the farm, on the Inskip farm, and we stayed there for years while they were in a real bad accident. So my mom and dad and my sister moved out there, and so I went to work with my dad. And I can remember, I guess probably it was not 6 years old. I think it was 5 years old. It was just mandatory. You just went in and stayed in the store and got in the way, but you were learning things. And I can remember I was probably 6 or 7, no more than that. And they used to get packages in from Richmond on the bus, Trailways bus. So they'd order something one day and it would come in at the bus station. They have to go in to get it. So my dad set me down there one day, and I didn't know anything about anything. He said, just go to the bus station to pick your package up for Central Hardware. So I went down and went in the door, and they had an area in the middle where he could either service the left side or the right side. And I went in the left side because that's where the door was. And when I came in, he said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to pick something up at Central Hardware." He said, "Well, you got to. It's on the other side. You got to go around to the other side." And I'm thinking, I'm 5 years old. Why I got to walk around now? Why can't you pick it up, and bring it over here? Anyway, so I went around and got it, and went back up to the hardware store. And when I got up, I asked my dad about it, and I said, "That guy sure is lazy. He wouldn't pick your package up." And well, the package was actually on the other side on the floor. That's why. Anyway, and he said, "Well, you probably went in on the colored side." And I said, "The colored? What the heck is that?" Because back then there was no the race thing just wasn't the issue. And we had colored people that worked on the farm, and they were just people. We didn't know the difference. And that was my first, I guess, exposure to there being a difference, because I never did know. And one of my babysitters when I grew up was black. I can't think of her name right now, but if I said it, y'all would recognize it. Anyway, so that was my first experience at any kind. That was 5 or 6 years old. It just never was an issue back then, and it wasn't an issue to the older people that I was around, in the hardware business. So
Boys Theater was segregated.
yeah, they're upstairs.
I never could understand that. Why they put you upstairs?
They put the black.
That was the best place.
Yeah,
Because when we were kids, that's what we want to go up and take Sunday today.
yeah.
I agree.
And they would throw things down the top of it.
So talking about the segregation of the places, I can remember as a young boy, because we had horses, and a little boy that stayed out there really at the where the fairgrounds was. And so we went down on a Saturday, and he saw me. He said, my mom let him and I were walking around. The next thing, we were down at right down Davis Street. It was a little soda shop, and we were in there having a ice cream soda. I'm sitting up there, and I see my mom at the door calling me out. At that time, I didn't,
Yeah. We
Yeah.
didn't know.
I mean, nobody had said anything, but she was calling me.
Experience.
Boyd, I had a question for you. So Central Hardware was on one side of the street. Across the street was Yao Hardware. On the other corner was Clark Hardware. So was there competition between these hardware stores?
I really think, from what I understood, Mr. Yao was a wonderful man and a wonderful family, but he had an attitude a lot of people didn't like him. And when they started Central Hardware, was a result of that. Somebody approached a couple of men and said, this guy's got an attitude and we hate dealing with him. Would you open up? And that's how they ended up opening up Central Hardware. I don't remember when Clark came in, but they came in later. But the hardware store back then was like the Walmart and Church Street Building Supply. I mean, they had culvert, they had brick, they had cement, they had dynamite. I can remember 10 or 12 years old, some of the farmers would come in and want dynamite. We'd just go back and get it. It was in the back room. And then the blasting caps, they were over by the key grinding machine. And the key grinding machine where you cut keys, you're cutting steel and brass keys, and the sparks are going everywhere. So didn't know any different.
My grandmother and her 4 sisters were all Clarks from Stevensburg, and they were somehow related to the Clarks that opened the hardware store.
Okay.
Well, that Clark Hardware used to be on the other side of the street, I think.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and then they finally moved it down to where it was in the Masonic building. But
The Clarks never was big into the buildings.
each one of those hardware stores had something a little bit different. I know John Gal, he had more stoves. The country people had, wood stoves and everything. He kind of was into that. And Central Hardware, of course, they had almost everything, but they had more plywood.
Sold cars.
Yeah.
They sold cars. They sold
Tires, automobiles.
Sears, Ford first. Sold Ford cars.
Is that how you got into business?
It's probably blood. Anyway, sold Ford cars, and then Ford, somebody that opened up Ford dealer in Culpeper, we lost a little. They have franchises back in, but we lost the ability to buy Fords because you had a Ford dealer. So then we sold Sis Roebuck cars, all state cars.
All state.
And they didn't sell too many, but it was available. That was something.
Well, I tell you, John, I have a good story about their cars, and the where we sold cattle. My first car came from the heifer I sold here.
Really?
My grandfather gave me a heifer, and my first car in 1965 Plymouth Island was bought with that heifer.
Yeah, you got that picture over there of the livestock market.
Yeah, livestock.
Yeah, out there on, that's where I was thinking.
That's across from Southern Stage now. It's all gone, but the road still does a little. Well, they realigned.
Yeah, it's out there where, Paul Bates had his original business stop out there.
It would be across from.
I used to go out there and eat on Tuesday. Annie Ruth Duncan used to cook out there. Remember Annie Ruth?
Yeah, they did have some.
Yeah, she was you'd go out there and get those, you'd have a distinctive smell from the cows and everything.
Yeah.
But the food was so good. She did all that old home cooking. And there was somebody in there with her too. I think it was her niece or somebody, Juanita. I can't remember her last name.
And a lot of these people, in addition to having a Monday through Friday business or 9 to 5 business, they also played the horses. So I was up where there was a racetrack here in Culpeper. Yeah, we've got the 2 racetracks.
That year too. 2 racetracks here in Culpeper. Yeah. They still fairgrounds and then up at Ferris Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
I hung up going to the racetrack out in town.
Yeah.
I can remember that. Had that wooden bleachers and everything, but
Dick Weaver was original investor in the one at Charlestown. And
Yeah.
I'm sure he invested heavily after that too. And your dad Saint,
Oh yeah.
he had horses and
Foxhounds. Foxhounds.
Yeah.
He had many friends. I tell you,
Lewis Tutt.
Yeah.
Lewis Tutt had the famous horse
Sugar Mom.
Sugar Mama. Everybody, when Sugar Mama ran, we all went over there.
Let's go back to Davis Street, 1953. The longest supper table. I'm sitting here looking at a picture of my mother and father. So let's talk about that. I remember being there. I was 3 years old.
I was 8, 7 to 8.
And
And it was a big deal because it blocked off the whole street.
Slim, tell us about the longest supper table.
I was only a year old, so I don't think I'm there, but I know I live there. I remember that event because it was the Culpeper was the first town south of the Mason-Dixon line to get fluorescent lights, and they made a big deal of that because the street light then was no more than a little porcelain container with a bulb in the bottom. But prior to that, but
They had tables all up and down the street.
that when they linked.
And they cooked right up the street. Yeah. And I can remember it being right up front of the store. They had brought all these pans in, and there was thousands of people there. We're not talking about hundreds. I mean, it was a big deal back in the
It
lecture.
was one end of day thing from Maine.
Tree safety, right to Maine. Yeah. And the Brunswick stew was cooked. Then I've got pictures of that it was cooked in the vacant lot there, across from the Forbes Row building,
Yeah.
on Main Street up from Antioch Baptist Church. They had big pots up there and they cooked that stuff. I missed that one. I don't know how. We lived out in the country then. We didn't get to have all this big deal.
This has a date of November the 13th, 1953. The town population was 4,500 people.
Is it big here now?
Something happened.
I was there. I remember it, and it was a great occasion. It was one of these events that comes along once in a lifetime.
I think the governor came,
Yes,
and a lot of dignitaries out of Richmond, and some out of Washington, because it was, like you said, it was a
it was a big
first
deal.
one
It was a
below
big
the
deal.
Dixon line,
It was really a feather in Culpeper's. Yeah.
And Culpeper, there were a lot of towns bigger than Culpeper, but Culpeper had that. They had a very aggressive leadership as far as
Who was the mayor back then? I don't think it was.
No, my grandfather wasn't mayor until 50. Jack Eggman was his mayor.
Yes, Jack Agnew.
That's Jack Egbert.
And Giles Miller was the vice mayor, I'm sure.
Jack Agnew started the Lord Culpeper Hotel.
That's correct. And the reason my grandfather became mayor in 58, Jack moved out to the country club, and that was out of the town limits.
Yeah.
So at the time, he had to vacate
You know who's
position.
You know who stayed at the Lord Culpeper Hotel in 1937? Edwin Rommel,
Really?
the German general.
Huh.
The desert.
Desert Fox or whatever.
Desert Fox. He came over on some kind of probably a spying mission or something, but in 1937, and he stayed there.
Well, I think JB was on town council and had to get off when they moved over.
Yeah, he was on the town council, and then when we moved, we lived on the West Street, and Mom and Dad bought a house on Oak Lawn Drive, which was once you crossed Blue Ridge Avenue, you were in the county. And he had to resign until about a year or so later when they annexed that.
January 1, 1968.
Back. Then he ran again and got put back on again.
I remember when they remember that it is after.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another picture. We got a picture here. Sonny Porter's Garage.
Yep.
Who remembers Sonny Porter's Garage?
I do.
I sure do.
I can remember him coming around one winter that was really, really cold. And he had a thing would come around and thaw people's water lines.
He was a welder. It was a big deal.
He was the
So
best
Had a portable unit, and if your pipes froze, he'd come and hook the welder up on each side of the freeze and hook it up, and it would warm the pipe.
And what was his motto down there?
Could fix anything except a broken heart. We write that down.
We fix anything with a broken heart. Yeah. I remember my first bicycle, I got it for somebody gave me the bicycle for stacking some wood, and it had a broken bar, and I pushed that thing 3 miles to town to Sonny Porter's Garage. He fixed that thing up for me.
You could ride on.
No time at all. I think he charged me $1.
Wow. Yeah, my dad had a Model A that was, he went back for it to work in. And then when I started driving, I was coming uptown one day and a lady ran a stop sign and ran into the side of it, bit the running board up. We ended up, it was no body damage other than the running board, and Daddy took it down to Sonny Porter's, and Sonny straightened it out and put a piece of angle iron on the side and welded it back, and it was the strongest part of the whole car.
Sonny was murdered. Remember?
Yeah, that's right.
He was a murderer.
Yeah, yes, right.
Guy named Hugh Jollis. He had tried to borrow money from Sonny to go to the racetrack. He had a hot tin, and Sonny wouldn't lend him any money, so he hit him in the head.
I want to thank Glenn for being sort of our moderator. And gentlemen, I've enjoyed it. I can't wait to do this again. And
I've got a lot of stories.
I think it's going to be great
Some of the others that we can't put on camera.
for the viewers of Channel 21 to tune in and see and hear about all this fantastic history of Culpeper. I can't wait for that to be aired.
And some of this is history that nobody else knows.
That's right.
So thank you all. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
I tell me too.
A lot of fun.
Looking forward to the next time.
Well, fellas, thank you all for our initial get together. We're going to do it again. I appreciate your time tonight, and we've got many more stories to cover.